Welcome everybody. In this video I wanted to talk about creating arrays. In the last two videos I spoke about using arrays and how to access the information within the arrays, but I never actually taught you how to make an array. So with PHP there are predefined arrays, so pretty much arrays that are already created, and you will use these arrays to get information, use that information, such as when a form is submitted and so forth. But you'll often create your own arrays too. So just like you can assign a value to a variable, we do something very similar with arrays. So let's say we're assigning a string to a variable. We're not creating an array right now. We have name. We can assign this the value Caleb. Well, this is the proper way to assign a string to a variable. Well, assigning a string to an array is very similar. So we could add this little box, two square brackets, and then an equal sign. So now we have names, square brackets, is equal to, or is assigned, the string Caleb. Kebab. Caleb. So now, the key 0 points to the value Caleb. Now, you can add another key value pair just by doing this again. Names celeb. Alright, so now the second thing within our array has the key 1, and it points to the string celeb. Makes sense? This is not going to override the original value. It's going to add to the array. Now, what if we want to override something in the array? Well, we could do something like this. Names, and then within this box put a 1, and then change, now this number 1, originally 1 pointed to celeb, well now we're going to change it to tiger. I couldn't think of anything. So now this 1 is overridden and it now points to tiger. That means this value here no longer exists. It is overridden. Hopefully that makes sense. Another way we can create arrays rather than assigning using the same variable. So with that method we're going to have to write names, and then we're going to have to repeat names, and then we're going to have to write names, and then we're going to have to repeat names, and so forth. We're going to have to write the variable names and then assign a value to it every single entry into the array. Now, what if we just want to enter everything at once? Well, there's actually another way we could do this. To do this, we create a normal variable, so we could say food. And then we assign a function to this. And I know we haven't got much into functions, but just follow. And we could say array. And then we open a parentheses, left parentheses, and then we can close the parentheses and allow us to write whatever we want. And then add a semicolon. And then everything within the parentheses is separated by commas, and each one separated by comma is a new entry into the array. So food could be, the first one could be cereal, comma, steak, comma, bananas, comma, and pie. And then after the last one, you don't put a comma because there's no more. Only when there's another one coming. So, cereal, comma, steak, comma, bananas, comma, pie. And make sure you put them in quotes, each one. So now this is going to create an array where the index 0 points to the cereal. the 1 points to, the steak. The 2 points to bananas. And the 3 in the index, these are the keys, points to pi. This is pretty much what this is creating right now. So now if you wanted to access the pi value of the array, you could say echo food square bracket, and then within the square bracket write a 3, and this is going to access the third element, which is pi. I'm sorry, this will access the third key, not the third element. This will point to the key with the value 3, which is going to grab pi. Hopefully that makes more sense. Alright, cool. Now, oh man, draw my chalk. Now, what about associative arrays? What if you want to give a string value as the key? Well, we can also do that. Just like the first method we did, we could say foods square bracket, and then within this you can make a string, such as saying breakfast, and then this is assigned the value cereal. Alright, so now breakfast points to cereal. Whoa, man. Okay, breakfast points to cereal. So now you can add another one. Foods. And then within these square brackets you could say lunch. And then that's equal to steak. And then that is going to create a new element where lunch points to the value steak. Now I need to decide if I'm using single quotes or double quotes because I keep changing. Alright, so now this is what we have. Just like with the indexed version, we had a function to do it. We could also do that with the associative version. So we could say foods without the brackets because we're assigning the whole array, not a specific value within the array. And we could say array, open the parentheses, and then close the parentheses. This is a little more complicated. What we're going to do is make a string, breakfast, and then we're going to put close the string, of course, put an equal sign, and then a greater than sign. So it looks like an arrow. Equals then, greater than, and then assign that a value, whatever you want, cereal. And then you put a comma, which allows you to do the next one. Lunch, steak, and so forth. So that is the basics of creating arrays, just like with when you're creating arrays with the indexed versions. If you put the index when you're creating it, so let me just show you. If I say foods, and then within here I say lunch, and there's already a value for lunch, if I assign this something, it's going to override the other one within the array. So it'll find the key with lunch and it will override it. Another thing I wanted to go over was when we're using the function to create arrays. So foods equals array. Well, if you want to start an index with a certain number, such as 1 instead of 0, we could say we write a 1 equals greater than sign, and then give it a value, so forth. And then after that, it'll start counting from 1 rather than 0. So we change this to 3, it will start counting from 3. Just like we gave it a string, such as hey, and it points to yo. We can give it a number 1, and this is going to be its new key, number, but it's not an associative array because it's not a string. So I know that's a lot of confusingness, but hopefully that all makes sense, and I will see you in the next video.